Everyone. So this is a counterpart to a video I did just a little bit ago today about how to find the key signature of a song using your guitar. This one's going to be about how to find the key signature using your piano or keyboard or whatever you call it. So this will be a little bit easier in some ways and a little bit more difficult in other ways. But yeah, I'll show you how to do it. Now, just a fair bit of warning here. My piano, I have it. Someone a long time ago once said about guitar that guitars are meant to be played, not to be looked at, and that always stuck with me because I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter if the guitar is like all nice and fancy looking. It's not, it's not the worst thing in the world. But what matters more is that you play it, and hopefully it sounds good. So. I carried that over to piano, and I've got a piano here. It's a Yamaha P105, and I like it. It's a good piano. 88 keys. If you can get a piano, a keyboard that has 88 keys, awesome. And even better if the keys are weighted, and even more better if the keys have a gradual weight to them, to simulate like on the lower. On a real piano, on lower strings, or not strings, well, strings, yeah, I guess. On lower keys, there's a little bit more weight to it than the higher keys. But it's really, really crucial. If you do get a piano, get one that's weighted, because the way that you play, you want to have it weighted because it'll kind of give you a little bounce up when you press down on keys. Regular like keyboards, like the cheap cent things, don't have that. They just go straight down, and you don't get that same kind of feel. And having that bounce is great because you bounce and bounce and go to the next thing. When it goes straight down, you have to use your own strength to lift your hand back up. Okay, so that's just a sidebar there. Okay, so anyways, my piano, because it doesn't matter what it looks like, it matters how it sounds, and it matters how you play it. I have it all marked up right now, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time, because that's not the point of the video, explaining what all the marks are for, but just fair warning before I point it out. Now, since it's all marked up, I did print up a little keyboard thing right here. And I just realized that the camera might be reversed, so I apologize for that. Just pretend that it's backwards. Anyways, so here's a nice clean piano for you to look at. And this, I'm actually going to use it as a framework for figuring out what key you're in, and how to identify keys, and how to figure out all 12 key signatures just using one simple pattern. Yeah, so real quick, I'll show you my piano. We'll get that out of the way. I'm not crazy. There's a rhyme to the reason, but here it is. Okay. All right. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, I do talk about a few different topics, but one topic I talk about a little bit more often is like psychology and personality types and everything. It's kind of been trending lately, and I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about it. But my type is INFP, so if this looks crazy and weird, just look up what an INFP personality type is, and that'll explain a lot. Kurt Cobain was an INFP, and if you look at his artwork, crazy mess of montage of heck, I guess. But and other people, not just crazy people like that. But yeah. Anyways, I have very little, I guess, respect for the real world, I guess, and I don't care if I mess up the piano and make it look weird, because I just want to figure out how to play it and play it better. So, yeah, let me explain just a little bit more about it. So I've got, I numbered all the keys running up all the way up to 88, and I also numbered them going down 1 to 88. And on a different piano, because I didn't want to go through all the trouble on this one, I'm trying to learn how to do composing, and composing symphonies and things like that for down the road. On a different piano, I wrote down all of the ranges of all the pieces of a standard orchestra. So here, I use this cheapo keyboard right here. And this is one of the ones that it's not weighted, and kind of piece of crap. I think I got it at Walmart. But looking at it, I've got like the timpani and the cello and different things. That's the lowest note of the range of that instrument. And then in green, I have the highest note. So where's the timpani? The timpani tops out at the 4th octave, C4, you'd call it, and so on. So anyways, that's a whole beside the point thing. But anyway, so I did that because I'm trying to get familiar with all the different pieces of an orchestra and their ranges, so that for composing, you can know like what range you're dealing with and all of that. So not crazy. Anywho, okay, so let's get back to the purpose of the video here. All right, so first thing I'm going to do here, since this video is about identifying key signatures and figuring out on your own the notes that are going to be in a key, I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut off the bottom of it. Oops. Okay. All right, and you might have heard this if you have any familiarity with like key signatures and stuff. You might know that all of the white keys on a piano are the notes that are in the key of C, which is like the general like standard key signature. So knowing what that pattern is, the reason I cut this off was so that you can see what the different white keys are. The pattern that we're looking at here, I want you to see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 notes, possible notes in music. Some people theorize other things like 36 notes and stuff, but standard, regular music that you're going to be familiar with is going to have 12 notes in it, okay? So on a piano, key signatures are, they pick out 7 of those 12 notes, and they, based off of that, you're going to have a different, kind of different sound, different feel to it. Some people have, like different composers and stuff, have even categorized the different key signatures and what mood they evoke and things like that. That's good stuff to look into and read, but you want to find your own kind of voice for it and figure out like, I like the key of D because it generally is like a sort of a happier key, or, it kind of feels hopeful. Or I like the key of B flat because there's, a little bit of moodiness there or whatever, whatever you find out for yourself. So anyways, looking at this is going to shortcut the pattern that I'm going to talk about in a second here. If you just look at the white keys and then count how many notes they skip or don't skip, depending on the key, that's going to be the pattern for every single key signature. There's 12 possible key signatures because there are 12 keys, 12 notes in music. And if you know where your starting note is, which is going to be this one, and I apologize again if this is reverse image for you, but single ladies. This note is going to be your starting note. Now, looking at the piano, you want to ignore, for our sake, ignore that whole area where there's no black keys there, because it's going to make it easier for you to count the notes. So if I have my first note right here, I'm going to skip one note and go to the next note. Now, if you ever skip a note, they call that a whole step. So I'm taking a whole step and skipping a note right here. All right, I'm going to skip another note. What's that called? It's a whole step. So I did another whole step right here. Now, if I'm not skipping over a note and I'm just going straight to another note right here, they call that a half step. So if you are moving just one note over, that's a half step. So 1, 2 is a whole step, 1, 2 is a whole step, and then one note is a half step. If you watch the guitar video, I explain a little more on there. It's the same basic idea. So we're just applying it to piano instead of guitar. All right, half step. And then I've got how many whole steps? 1, 2, 3 whole steps. Okay. So to make it really easy, whatever your starting note is, that's going to be your root note. So if this is a C, a D, F sharp, whatever it is, whatever you can imagine, if you start on that note and do 1, 2 whole steps and a half step, and then 1, 2, 3 whole steps, and then you can't see it here, but you would have a half step where it repeats back to the start. That's your basic pattern for key signatures. They also call it a diatonic scale. I forget what that all stands for, but a diatonic scale is another way of saying just a regular plain old key signature with 7 notes like this. Okay. Just a note on that, pun intended. There are other kinds of scales. There are other kinds of, sometimes they'll call them modes. We won't get into all that, but if you're talking about blues scales or jazz scales or like the Japanese scale or whatever, they're going to be, they might have some extra notes in them. They might throw in a couple of the black keys in there. Jazz, you'll hear it where it'll be like notes like this, where it's like, that would be me going boom, 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 that white note, black note, white note. Yeah, sort of like bluesy, jazzy kind of a thing. Okay, all right, so just remember that pattern. Whatever you're starting at, do whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, so 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. And that just repeats over and over again up and down the keyboard. I almost said fretboard. Up and down the keyboard. Okay, so let's take a look at the real piano here. Okay, so I've got C right here. Okay, just like the picture. Okay, although bigger. I've got C, and then do a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And then it's just that same pattern, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Okay? Now, I'm only going to call out the whole steps. I'm not, I'll count the whole steps and then I'll say half. So, starting from C, I do 1, 2, half, 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half, 1, 2, 3, half. Okay? 1, 2, half, 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half, 1, 2, 3, half. Okay? All right, pretty easy, right? Now, the nice thing about the key of C is it's just the white keys. So if you don't hit any of the black keys, you're never going to go wrong. But I don't want you to be basic, okay? So I'm going to teach you, this is actually Chopin, what's his name? I forget his first name, Chopin, the piano player. He was a great classical musician, but he also was they even like cast his hands in like plaster and like they have him at a museum or whatever, because he was just so good at piano and like his hands were just great for it. Had a great span, all that kind of stuff. But he was sort of like the Ratatouille, the cook who says, anyone can cook. He had that same kind of view for music. Anyone can play piano. Anyone can play music. There's not gifts or things that you're just born with or whatever. If you want to, if you apply yourself, you can learn it and you can play it. So his whole focus, there's a paper called Chopin's Pedagogy, and that just means his teaching method or whatever. His whole focus was how to teach for the hand. And a lot of people make the mistake of focusing on teaching, if they're teaching piano, they teach the key of C first, because they're probably more focused on teaching like the notes on a music staff, like the sheet music and stuff. But his focus was more on like what is easiest for the hand, and what can you learn easiest for your hand first, and then you can learn all that other stuff later. You can learn the sheet music later. It's fine. In fact, everyone has a different opinion on this, but I wouldn't recommend learning sheet music first. I would recommend learning something that you can play first, so that you can build confidence, and then you can apply that to sheet music. No one teaches a kid how to read before they teach them how to talk. So there you go. So anyways, his method, instead of teaching people to play in the key of C, he said that the easiest thing for the fingers and for the head to understand is to learn the key of B. So you take all those notes, take little notes here, and you just shift them down 1/2 step. So all the notes that we saw here, I don't know how that happened. Okay, all those notes there, we're going to take those all down 1/2 step. So instead of C, and I'll give you the name, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, okay? We're gonna move them down. Now, as far as the names of the black keys, they can go one of two ways. Depending on what key signature we're talking about, they're either gonna be referred to as a sharp or a flat. I will give you just a quick crash course in that. I'm not gonna get too in depth with it, but I'll give you a quick crash course. Basically, when you are naming the notes, there are 7 names possible, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? You will always have all of those names, but some of them are gonna be sharps or flats. And so if you bring a note down, the 1/2 step, that might be a flat. So like, this is sort of a bad example. I don't want to get too confused with this, but if I have a key signature like the key of F, which doesn't have a B in it, it actually has a B flat, I am still saying all the letters of the alphabet that are in there. So F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, okay? There's no letters missing. I still have F, G, A, B is in there, but it's flat. And then C, D, E, F. That's what you got to remember. So for key signatures and all that, if you're naming the notes, just remember, don't leave any of the letters out. You're never gonna have something where it's like B flat and B in the same thing. You're never gonna have that. Okay. You're always gonna have all the names of the notes, but some will be sharp, some will be flat, and for reasons that we'll get into later on different videos probably, I'll explain which one's which. Okay, so just as a cheat on this, the key of B, all of the black keys are sharps. Oh, that's another thing too. So whatever key signature you're in, if the black keys are flats, they are all flats. You're not gonna have flats and sharps. And if the notes are sharp, they're all sharps, okay? So it's either gonna be all sharp or all flat, okay? All right, so I'm gonna bring all this down. I've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, okay? The C, I'm gonna bring it down to B right here, okay? Actually, no. C, ignore the C for now. I'm gonna start on B, that's my first note here. And C is now going to be C sharp, and then this D is now gonna be D sharp, okay? All right, so just like we had with C, D, E, where it was C, whole step, I just had 2 whole steps. With B, I have 2 whole steps. And again, if you look, make sure that you're looking at the tops of these so you can count all 12 of the notes. That's gonna make it easier for counting the whole steps and half steps. So looking at this, B, 1, 2, that's a whole, 1, 2, another whole, okay? And whatever your starting note, it's only gonna have 2 whole steps before you have a half step, okay? So B, C sharp, D sharp, then a half step. Right after that is gonna be this note right here. What's the next note or letter in the alphabet after D? E, okay? And since it's on a white key, we know that it's not a sharp or a flat, okay? So B, C, D, E. B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Okay? So just like we had with C, C, D, E, F. Okay, you see that? C, whole step, half step. Now we have our B. Okay. All right, now after that, you can never have more than 2 half steps next to each other unless you're doing something like a blues or jazz scale or something like that. So we know that the next note has to be a whole step away, okay? Or 2 keys away, all right? So I've got my E. I have to go up 1, 2 to that whole step right there, okay? Now, what letter comes after E? F. But I'm on the black key right here, so this must be an F sharp, okay? B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, okay? All right. And then after that, so that's a whole step. There's 2 whole steps after the first note that's in the scale. And then when you get to this half step, there's going to be 3 whole steps. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Kind of cheated there. 1, 2, 3. All right, so got, what's it? 2 notes to a whole step. That's your first whole step. Your second half step. Third whole step. Okay? And then we're going to return back to the next B. Okay? All right, so do you see the pattern there? It kind of makes sense why Chopin says that learning B is actually easier. Check it out. It's kind of ergonomic. I have my thumb on the B, and then I do index, middle, and then we do a little thing where you tuck underneath, so the thumb tucks underneath to go to that E, and then I have my index, middle, ring, and then tuck underneath to B again, okay? So that pattern there, I do these 3 fingers, and then starting from the E, I do these 4 fingers. Whoops. And then I'm back to my B again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Forgive me for hitting it a few missed notes there. So, all right. So that's a basic thing for a good place to start. So I would start with the key of B. Get familiar with the notes. Count the notes. Don't just look at the white notes there. Count all 12 notes right there. Follow the pattern that C follows, which is you start with your first note and you have 1, 2 whole steps and then a half step. Okay, so like live long and prosper. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3 whole steps and then a half step, okay? That's the basic pattern for all of it. So let's try this out. I know this video is going a little long, but I'm gonna flip the camera around and we're gonna go through all the keys. We'll start on each one. So we're gonna do C, so whole step, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. Okay? All right, that's C. Okay? Now we're gonna jump up to this note here. Now you might want to name it C sharp, but you could. But technically, that's actually a D flat. If you look around at the notes, you'll kind of figure out why that is later. But so I've got D flat right here. All right. So, and I'm not going to say the flats or the sharps. I'm just going to say the letter name. So D. Actually, I'll say the whole steps. So I'll count the whole steps. D. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. And we can bring it down. In reverse, we're going to count down 3 whole steps and a half step, and then 2 whole steps and a half step. So 1, 2, 3. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 2, half. Okay? All right. Okay. So now we'll go with D. Okay. Go with D. All right. So D. So looking at the notes back here, here's the D. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Or, starting from D. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. Okay. All right. E flat. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Okay. Now let's do E. E is similar to the B. Okay. But it's just one note different here. Okay, so start from E. As long as you know where your first note is, you can count all the other ones. So whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 E. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 E. Okay. F is going to be pretty easy. So F, whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. All right. Now we have F sharp, okay? Or G flat. You can actually call it either one very easily, but I'm going to call it F sharp, okay? This one's easy as well. The more black keys that you have, actually the easier the key signature is to play on the piano, I think, because the black keys should stick out at you. So I've got my F sharp, see? F sharp, all right? Whole, whole, half. Is that B again? And then 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. F sharp again. 1, 2, B. 1, 2. F sharp again. All right. Now this is a little weird, and I won't explain it at all, but this is technically E sharp, but that's not important right now. Okay. Now let's do G. There's my G. C, D, E, F, G. G. All right. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Okay. Okay. And whatever note is your root note is always going to have a little half step underneath it. Every key that we've done so far is like that. B has its half. C had its half. D flat had a half. D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G. Okay, all right. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. All right. We're almost to the finish line here. So A flat, all right. Whole, whole, half. Okay, you see that? Whole, 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 half. Okay. 1, 2, half. 1, 2, 3, half. All right. whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay? Okay? All right, two more. We'll do one more and then return back to the B. But here is B flat. Okay, B flat. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Going in the opposite direction. Whole, whole, whole. Wait, no. Whole, 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 half, whole, whole. Okay. All right, and then returning back to B. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, all right, one final tip for this. I know this video is a little long here, but one final tip. If you're going to practice these keys, you want to practice with both hands. I won't get into all the fingering and stuff like that, but typically you're going to be doing patterns where it's like 3 fingers than 4, but that changes up a little bit on some of the flat key signatures. But if I can give you any advice for it, whether you're doing the left hand or the right hand, do 2 octaves of the key signature, not just 1 octave. So you want to have it so you can kind of practice the continuation of it. So rather than me doing B like this and just stopping, it's great to continue it on. All right, and the reason for that is so you have flow. Like a lot of music comes down to flow. You don't want to have it like if you just do this and practice that, you're practicing stopping and not having that flow of continuation there. So do 2 whole octaves. That's where you repeat the pattern twice, and you're gonna be on your way. So yeah. And then from there, my recommendation as well is if you can find time of the day, like it doesn't take that long at all, do all 12 of the key signatures. All 12, just pick a note and just practice, even without doing the sheet music or anything like that. Just pick a note and practice doing the whole step, counting it out, and getting really familiar with it, and finding good patterns that work for your hand. For that, I actually would recommend eventually looking up what the prescribed patterns are, but everyone's hand is different, and some people will find different patterns, and some songs you're not gonna want to be stuck to that one pattern because sometimes you're gonna have to change things up. So find what's comfortable for you and then learn the correct way, and that's my advice for any of this. Find what works for you and then find the correct way. Don't get it the other way around. Learn how to talk before you learn how to read. And there you go. So I hope this helps.